Tonight we have a fantastic show planned. Lee, welcome to this fourth dimensional investigation. I'm so delighted that you're with us. We've got a bit of a panel. Sorry?
It seems like 60.
Exactly.
The number of people I see.
Precisely, because we've got a panel today, and thank you for adding that, Lee. I want to let everybody know that they can sponsor Lee on patreon.com/Stranahan, but we've got a wonderful ensemble of guests today. Of course, John Cullen is with us. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited about this show.
It's going to be
really
good.
Excited.
Yeah. And everybody knows they can sponsor John on subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen or patreon.com/IamJohnCullen. We're joined tonight by an international guest. We've got Hendrik joining us from Germany. Hello, I forgot how to say that in German. How are you, Hendrik? Guten Tag.
I'm good. Guten Tag. Excellent.
Very good.
Nice to meet you all.
Likewise. And just to give people a little bit of background, Hendrik is a viewer of Crowdsource the Truth, saw that we wanted to do this four-dimensional. And a subscriber. Thank you for sponsoring the show, Hendrik. I really appreciate that. That is how we met. Hendrik sent me a message in Odyssey, and he had created some really excellent animation. We're going to look at that, and we want to get a little background. We're also joined by a guest who is going to remain voice only tonight. Bill is with us. You two guys are talented 3D artists. Bill, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm not photogenic, so that's why I'm not.
No problem. No problem. What we want to do on the show tonight is to basically discuss, John, you've been doing a tremendous amount of work with some models. Why don't you explain to us what you've been doing, John, and then we'll get into some of this other stuff.
Well, actually, it just looks like I've been doing work. It's actually Bill who's been doing the work. It's kind of like, those magic shows in Vegas, when Copperfield, the rapist, comes up on stage, right? Allegedly. He doesn't really do the work. He's got a whole crew of people doing the work. He just stands up there and looks good. Bill makes me look good. Bill's the one doing all the 3D work, right? So he's cranking out the stuff. And what he's going to share with you guys tonight, it's sort of like the merging or, the coming together of these really talented people, right? So Lee has been doing this stuff forever. You've been doing this stuff forever. Hendrik obviously is very skilled using these tools, and Bill is obviously very skilled. And so getting everybody together in one show where we can show people sort of what we've got so far, right? So what are we, 4.5 weeks since the attack, the shooting, and see, from this, where do we go from here with what we've got, these assets? And I'm excited, man. I can't believe what we have here is sort of, I'll use the word, it trumps anything we've seen from the FBI, the ATF, the Secret Service. They haven't come forward with anything like what Hendrik or Bill have done. And so I'm really excited. The stuff that I've shown people is me driving Bill's creation. But Bill's the creator, Bill's the architect, he built the thing. So it's going to be really exciting for me to watch you guys see what Bill did, and then same with Hendrik, to see how did Hendrik do the things that he did, because it's not the same stuff, and that's ideal. The fact that Hendrik worked really well on this ground plane stuff, we'll look at that. The fact that Bill was working on these different crazy trajectories from different crazy places, we'll look at that. I'm fascinated by this. I love this stuff. So this is about as exciting as it gets for me.
Yeah. Hendrik, if it's all right with you, I'd like to show this animation. Can we do that?
Sure.
Okay. So this is an animation that Hendrik did, and he sent to me.
Work. In the last video you published, you said
you needed
3D. Dear Mr. Cullen, dear Mr. Goodman, thank you for your hard work. In the last video you published, you said you needed 3D modeling skills. I've been 3D modeling for about 20 years now, so I thought I'd get to work. I grabbed all the photogrammetry data of the venue, and using aerial footage to the best of my ability, I recreated the entire venue. Keep in mind, this is not using any advanced blueprints or detailed information. This is just using aerial footage. This has been done in 1 day, so we could iterate quickly with this.
That's awesome. Sorry.
Amazing work.
The scene can still be improved, like remodeling the water tower and stuff like that, but I just wanted to show the current state. And you said you need 4D forensics, so I got to work again.
This is fantastic.
And
Thank you very much.
Created a small animation. I've been grabbing the audio from the shooting scene and putting it in the scene and then doing the animation according to the audio. I'll just play a short part.
Something that said, take a look at what happened.
Now all the shots have been modeled according to the information you published. I'm sure this is not perfect, but I just wanted to show what's possible. And as you can see, the bullets even have travel time. Let me try to catch it. So I just took the moment of the shot and then the moment of the thumb for the bullet hitting its endpoint. I'm sure that's not correct. It can all be improved. I just wanted to show what's possible. And the funny thing is, in your last video you published that the shot hitting the crane holding the speakers is going upward, so it would need to be shot from a lower position than the shooter on the roof. And as you can see, this fits perfectly with Donald Trump's ear. I even started placing the counter snipers.
It's so good. I love it that Trump is orange.
Placed the shooter on the rooftop. I tried to get the position as close as possible from the body cam footage. We have the shooter on the water tower and of course the shooter in the trees. As I said, it all can be improved. Now this scene is done using a software called Blender, which is open source software, so it's readily available. I would be willing to publish this scene open source. I would also be willing to do one-on-one sessions with you to improve the scene. As I said, this was modeled in just 1 day, including the animations, so we could iterate quickly on that. I would be willing to work for free on that. But if you just want to use the scene and work with someone else, that's fine for me too. So let me know what you think, and I would be happy if you would get into contact with me.
So Jason,
again,
can I
thank
ask a
you.
question?
Yes, Lee.
Hendrik and Bill?
You're a little low. Can you turn up your mic or get closer?
Okay, now
There you go. Yeah.
how's that? So
Good.
let me ask
Perfect.
Hendrik and Bill a question. What did you learn about the assassination doing this? Anything? Did you notice anything that struck out at you when you were doing the work? Hendrik, why don't you go first?
Should I start? Okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing is, how is the scene still the same the day after? So if I imagine these are foreign actors and it's just incompetence of the Secret Service, then I would expect everybody afterwards cramming the place, searching for evidence, which obviously didn't seem to happen. If it is the Secret Service themselves, I would expect them to cram the place and remove all the evidence or place
You mean
fake
preserve
evidence.
it? To preserve the evidence.
To preserve it,
Yes.
of course. So no matter from which side you look on this situation, it doesn't make any sense that they just abandon the entire project. And the most ridiculous thing is that the day after and the week after, people just can go onto the site with drones and take footage from above. That's how I reconstructed the scene. it was all still the same, except for some vehicles that moved. But it's just amazing to me. And I updated the scene, of course, in the meantime. I have all scenes ready if you want to have a look later.
Oh, yeah. We'll definitely do that. What we're going to do, sorry to interrupt there, Hendrik, but what we're going to do is during the sponsor exclusive segment, everybody's going to be able to join us for an in-depth discussion about the work that you've done, how this all works, what we expect to do in the future. But before we do that, I want to make sure that people know you want people to subscribe to this Odyssey channel, right?
Sure.
Okay, so Hendrik has an Odyssey channel that he's created specifically for this project at 4D_forensic. So people can subscribe to Hendrik. It's totally free. You can watch all of these videos. You can interact with him and comment and, message him here on Odyssey. Everybody knows that I really like Odyssey. And Hendrik, this is fantastic work. We're going to get more into the details during the sponsor exclusive segment. Bill, do you want to share with us some details about what you've done?
Sorry.
Hendrik's got one more thing. Sorry.
One more thing, and that you asked for something interesting I noticed. Oh, yeah. And if we assume that there is a shooter on the water tower, there's one super interesting thing I learned that you couldn't just anticipate without having the scene put in 3D. But I guess you want to say that you want to hear that in the exclusive segment.
Okay, I like a cliffhanger. Excellent. Well, this is good because there's a lot of things that we learned, right, Lee?
Yes, very, very interesting. And Jason, the JFK assassination. In the JFK assassination, remember chain of custody and dealing with the evidence. Remember the bullet found on a stretcher at the hospital?
They stuck it there. They just placed it there.
It's a commonality, I think. What do you think, Jason?
Absolutely. Planting evidence, manipulating evidence. We've been looking at these body camera videos that were released by Judicial Watch, and we see people leaving out the back of American Glass. There's an exchange of some kind of crowbar or something like that. The officers exchanging it look very concerned about who might see this exchange. It's extremely suspicious. People on X have been kind of debating as to whether this is a crowbar or a rifle. I agree with John. It looks very clearly
like a Halligan.
Like a pry bar, right? The point is, it doesn't matter really what it is. What matters is that they are obviously concerned that nobody sees them remove it from the building. So why is that? It's very curious, don't you think, Bill?
Yeah, to answer Lee's question, I think what we're finding out is that the whole crime scene, which it's a crime scene, which was dismantled and taken away. Hopefully they did some sort of forensic, who knows what it is, but it's turning into a lot of mini crime scenes. There's a crime scene at the podium. There's a crime scene at both of the bleachers. There's a crime scene happening at the building. There's a crime scene on the roof. So there's a lot to unpack here. So I think that's what I'm learning about most from all of the analysis that I've been watching, from you guys, all the other stuff that's on Twitter, is that this is a multi-pronged investigation, and it doesn't seem to be formulating or manifesting itself from the government side. I think that's what everybody is thinking, is that why are they taking so long?
Yeah, absolutely.
Bill has been
very quickly.
Hang on one second, Lee. Hang on one second, Lee. Bill has been working on some interesting stuff that I wanted the audience to just get a taste of, having to do with the impact of the wind on the gunshots. When we started out, we were using straight lines as trajectories because that just makes it kind of simple, right? You line stuff up. But one of the things that Blender has the ability to do is turn on gravity. And another thing it has the ability to do is turn on the wind. And so this is where the work that Bill and I have been doing kind of behind the scenes. We use DM in Twitter, and we start talking about stuff. And we start talking about, how much would the wind impact a shot at 150 yards? And it's a couple inches. Like it's the difference between Trump living and dying. And so Bill starts modeling the wind. And so, Bill, I don't know, can you just show everybody a peek at
Yeah,
some of
I
the
mean,
stuff that you've been doing. Can you share your screen? And again, when we
Yeah.
get to the patron only portion of the show, we'll get into the deeper stuff. But this is like a level of sophistication that's kind of taking it to the next level. And I thought this would be
Yeah.
important for people to see.
can you see my
Absolutely.
screen?
Yes,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can see it.
Crazy.
And
Yeah.
just for one point of clarity, it's not modeling the wind. This is a physics simulation environment within Blender, correct, Bill?
Right. Yes, it is. Yeah, you can set the physics. So what do you, and one thing about the physics here, I can't animate one bullet because it's traveling twice the speed of whatever, it's traveling fast. So I have to animate 30,000 or 10,000 of them. So what that does is that it creates a moving line of the bullet path. This is the one that hit Trump, the
Wait, hang on a
first
second.
one.
Let me just ask you
Go
something
ahead.
there, Bill.
Yes.
Hang on.
Sorry.
You have to model thousands of bullets. You're talking about there's a limitation in Blender of how fast it can simulate something moving, or why do we need 10,000
No.
bullets?
Well, you can't see it. You can't. It's
got it.
It's called a particle system. And so if I was to animate one bullet going at a 2,950 or 2,900 feet per second, like anybody in the real life, you wouldn't see it. So what we have to do is we have to multiply it. So what that does, it's the regular trajectory. You can see what's happening here. If you can see, this is curving around. This is where the wind is actually taking the bullet.
Oh, that far? Really?
If
Wow.
if it was a straight on shot, but what happens is gravity is actually affecting it. And when you go down
Sure.
here, if I can show it, it's actually it's underneath the plane there.
Wow.
So it's actually going through it's actually hitting the ground.
That's super interesting. Can you take us
Can
back
you-
to the flag for a minute? Because that
Right.
really
Oh,
gives
yeah.
people a
Yeah.
sense of how
Right.
approximately accurate this is, because that does look like the position that we've seen the flag in several videos. So, I mean, it's going to be obviously impossible to recreate to a T exactly what happened. But as you add in things like these physics simulation properties, it really starts to add some detail. Lee, what do you think about this? This is, I mean, when you and I
Well,
got
I have a
started
question
in
for Bill.
animation, there was nothing like this, right?
It's great. What do you use to determine the variable for how fast the wind is going? Because it occurs to me the flag would actually be a way to get the velocity. Make sense? Oh,
Yeah.
the wind.
So there is a wind physics in here, and I can look at it, and I've got to go. You're putting me on the spot here.
No, I don't want to get too technical on this segment. I mean, that's almost like brainstorming for you and Lee to do together. It's very
I'm
easy.
just asking
Right.
broadly.
Sure.
But this is setting the wind, and then the wind is actually in here somewhere. If I can find it, I have to select it. I may have had it. It's in. I thought it was near Trump. Let me see if I can turn it on. There it is. So this is the wind right here. I put it right behind Trump. It doesn't matter where you put it. I just put it there so I know where it is. But you can vary the wind strength.
See, and this
by
is
pulling it
great
down,
because
and you can see
both
what happens to the flag.
that's amazing. Yeah, look at it calm down there. See, this is really good because both Bill and Hendrik are using Blender. I think it's basically become the industry standard, right?
It is a Blender enthusiast and a Blender expert's main tool. This is what I would consider a rudimentary model. I have to keep it low because we want to share GLB files. So I've got to watch poly count. I can't. As things come into play in the narrative, we'll start adding them in. We just added in this really constructed tractor just so because it's now part of the narrative that there's a strike in the tractor. But what I am trying to do is get all of the elements in as close as possible in terms of building the models, but keeping the poly count down so we can run all of these physics, because the physics start to take up a lot of memory. Unfortunately, we can't bring physics into a .glb file, which we've been sharing, that we've all been able to look at the model. But what happens is that once you start getting to a certain size, it really just starts to break down. and it's what we want is to be able to see it. We can make an animation of it. We can do a 3D animation running through everything. But I think for our purposes and for the purposes of me and John and everybody else to be able to look at the stuff, this is the best way to go. Hendrik's model, I really want your ground plane because I think my ground plane is missing quite a bit of information. So hopefully
you can have it, no problem.
Okay, so that's
happy to share.
But one of the things, should I keep going or do you want to keep going?
We got 5 minutes more here. So John, what do you want to add about this?
So one of the things that Bill did that I think Hendrik will appreciate is using the videos, he's placed the victims in the scene.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right, kind of as close as we can. And in fact, Bill, I got a couple new photos of Corey Comparatori from behind of him and his wife that we kind of can see where he is in the bleachers for, to really get it right. Okay. But this notion of being able to locate Cooper Haven, David Dutch, the lucky guy in the corner, and then start figuring out these trajectories, meaning, so in other words, both Dutch and Coberhaven got hit twice.
Right.
That's 4 rounds.
Wow.
Twice?
Yeah.
That takes up a lot of bullets. We're running out of bullets.
Of eight bullets. If Dutch got hit twice, Coberhaven got hit twice. We see 1 round hits the railing behind everybody. 1 hits Trump. 1 hits Corey in the head. It's starting to get to the point where we may have more things happening down by the stage than shell casings on the roof. If in fact this tractor was shot, it's like, are we up to 9 things getting? That would be weird if there's only 8 brass casings on the roof.
Hasn't that been your presumption for quite a while, that the audible gunshots are only a portion of what's being fired? Is there plenty of...
It was a hunch. So it was a hunch kind of based on what Brett Weinstein said 6 days after the event. He said, it's kind of weird that we see the puff of smoke at the same exact instant we hear the bang. He's like, shouldn't there be a little delay there? And I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, there kind of should be. And I kind of started looking at things from the perspective of, is there more stuff happening here downrange than what we're hearing? And then when we got the Unsteady Dave footage and I slowed it down to 10% and I hear click, 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 and I played it for Clay Martin and he goes, dude, that's suppressed gunfire. And that was my take on it too. So if that's, dude, it changes like the whole craziness of the story to the point that now I'm starting to lean more towards a suppressed remote controlled rifle in the tree than a live shooter in a tree in a harness. Because then it can be controlled remotely and it's silent. And in other words, if every shot coming from AGR is also firing a suppressed shot from the woods, the snipers are up on the roof going, what the hell is going on here? And then when they go look for somebody up there, they find the contraption. And then there's zip. Right. Nobody wants to talk about that. I think this is becoming more and more realistic a scenario that there is potentially something up in a tree, and it may not be a man. And by that, it may not be a woman too. Like I'm not talking about.
You're not a biologist.
Yeah. I mean, right? There's no blood. There's a machine that's controlled remotely that was placed in a tree overnight, 2 a.m., 3 a.m.
Because being very careful not misgender. So
Jason, think about the advantage. Think about the advantage if the counter snipers turn, right? So we watched that video where they turn towards the tree line. What if they start returning fire? Well, if it's a machine in a tree, who gives a damn? You guys can return as much fire as you want. Shoot back. Come on, shoot back. Who cares?
We'll get into the details. We'll get into the details of this part as well during the sponsor exclusive segment.
This is looking more and more realistic as time goes on. This is becoming a more realistic scenario the way it's coming together now. Because we can't account for these shots. We've got too many things happening downrange. We got bullets hitting the back of the railing at the same time we hear the first shot. How the hell does that happen?
And have I heard somewhere that it hit Trump, hit Dutch, and hit the railing? Not that I have heard that. I don't think so.
Can't be. It could.
Because
So all right, as we wrap up, we've got 1 minute. Do we have 60 seconds, Bill? One of the challenges here is if Dutch is hit twice and Copenhagen's hit twice, the round that hits Trump in the ear had to have hit something else then, meaning it needed to have hit either the hydraulic line or David Dutch in the gut. Like it has to hit something else. Do you have any sense from your trajectory work as to the bullet that hit his ear? If it came from the rooftop, where might it have ended up? And if it didn't come from the rooftop, where might it have ended up? And then we'll go over to the patron only.
The closest that I'm coming up with this wind at the speed, it would have hit, if anything, it was going to hit the hydraulic line. It's right. If it hits David Dutch, I think it's impossible. I've drawn a trajectory line from David Dutch to Trump, and it does not go anywhere near the roof. It goes to the exhaust stacks.
Okay, so hitting hydraulics, that works, right? That lines up pretty well.
It does, but how?
Guys, we got to get over to, we're going to do all of this in the sponsor exclusive segment. And we've got a lot of people in the chat here asking for conclusions. I want to caution people. We are not anywhere near far enough down this road to start making conclusions about things, or at least I don't feel like we are. Other people are free to do whatever they want. I think we get into some danger.
That's what the model's for. Yeah,
yes,
the model's
to ready to just make a conclusion right away. It's just to help us figure out what isn't correct.
The lady's on a horse. It's actually a horse. I'm comfortable telling everybody that lady was definitely on a horse. That is not a kangaroo.
People are asking me, who did it? Where was the gun? We're not up to that yet. We're trying to explain things that we see in these different videos. There's a lot of things that haven't been well explained yet. Clay Higgins released a report that introduces new information. All of this needs to be integrated. This is why we're saying this is a four-dimensional investigation, because it's not just the space and what was going on that day. It's this the time and everything that's happening. We're going to get into all of these details. Don't forget, you can sponsor the co-hosts of this show, including Lee Stranahan at patreon.com/Stranahan, John Cullen at subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, or patreon.com/IamJohnCullen. And you can sponsor Crowdsource the Truth on Odyssey.com/@CrowdsourceTheTruth, or any of the other Crowdsource the Truth sponsorship channels. We're going to talk about the intense social engineering that has come upon this investigation, and we're going to ask some questions about why that might be happening. If everything according to these social engineering trolls that we're talking about is incorrect, why are they so focused on it? I see a lot of people putting incorrect information on the internet. I just go away and don't look at it anymore. So we'll be right back in 5 minutes. Huge thank you to everybody who sponsors this show. None of this research would have happened without the viewer sponsors. So if you're not already a sponsor, please become one and join us. We'll be right back. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.